welcome back. This is season 2 on Why Not Be Authentic. I'm Christina. I'm so excited to introduce to you our guest, Paul Lamar Hunter. How are you doing, Paul?
Hey, I am blessed to be in your presence because I have a fantastic story that your listeners and viewers are going to be taken aback. So I'm excited to be here. I am excited.
Love you, and I love the energy too. Now, guys, Paul Lamar actually wrote his own biography, No Love, No Charity, The Success of the 19th Child. In fact, it was such a hit that the book earned attention by U.S. Reporter, New York Weekly, LA Wire, CEO Weekly, Ebony Magazine, Black Enterprise Magazine, SA Express News, Radar Online, and he's appeared on several television shows, including Facing the Truth, Living 808, Good Things Utah, The Morning Blend, Travis Smiley, Tom Joyner, and the one we all know, Fox and Friends. So without further ado, Paul, I'm so excited to learn more about you and your book and how you are going to make such an impact on so many others that can relate to you. So tell us more about this book that I hear so much about.
Well, the book is an extraordinary book. It chronicles my life from 1970 all the way up until I became the first out of 21 siblings that my mother birthed by my father. 17 of us living today, 64 grandchildren because my brother just had a baby at the age of 62. So there are 64 grandchildren and 87 great grandchildren. So my book chronicles my life, the relationship with my siblings, with my mom, with my dad, the tragedies that went on in the Hunter family, the debates that went on, the rivalry that went on in the Hunter family. But we just an ordinary family of, you can look at it as 2, 3, 4, 5, but we are just a big family. We are the biggest family in the world. The reason why, like I say, my mother birthed 21 natural children by my father. And what is interesting about this, she stayed pregnant for 15 straight years. So I'm a 49ers fan. So my mother, to me, she won more championships than the 49ers because she gave birth for 15 straight years.
Did she have, now this is a little off topic, but was this any C-sections or were they all natural?
All natural birth. And she only had one set of twins. Could you believe it? One set of twins.
That is amazing. I've always wanted a big family like that. So, Paul, let me ask you, how was it being the 19th of 21 children?
Well, I have to go back because I have to tell this story about being raised in a family of 20 siblings and plus my mom and my father. I remember my mom telling me the story of when she was pregnant with the 14th child. They was living in a 2-bedroom house. The sheriff came knocking at the door, gave them 72 hours to vacate. Mother and father went to church. The pastor laid hands on my mother, on my father, prayed for them, and a miracle happened. The next day, a man came knocking at the door unexpectedly. He wanted to give my mother and father an 18-bedroom house just for $1. He took my mom and dad to go see this house. Mom and dad loved the house. Only problem that they had, they did not have the money, the $1, the 4 quarters, the 100 pennies, and they would not have the money until Friday. The man went in his wallet, gave my mother the $1 to pay him for the house. That house was a blessing for the Hunter family. When I say a blessing, it was tremendously a blessing because practically everybody had their own rooms. Rooms was in the basement all the way up to the attic. So it was a blessing. And I was born in that house. A lot of my other siblings was born in that house. And that what really ignited my mother to want to go out and help other people, even though we were struggling. but it just ignited in my mother to go out and help other people in our community. So my mother went out and started a homeless shelter, one of the first homeless shelters in the city of Racine, Wisconsin. And she titled that shelter Love and Charity, the
Oh,
homeless
wow.
shelter of Racine, Wisconsin. So that shelter stayed active for 45 years until my mom stepped down. So when you read my book, you're going to see in my book the relationships with my siblings, with my mom, with my children, with the mother of my children. You're going to see the struggles that I had in going to college, by attending Upper Iowa University and becoming the first to graduate from college. But what you're going to learn, where I read in my book, is not how you start, it's how you finish.
Oh my gosh, that quote right there is probably one of my most favorite quotes. It's amazing that she opened up and founded her own homeless shelter. And then through all those trials and tribulations, which we're going to dive into a little deeper, that you were the first, and are you the only of the 21 children to go to college?
Yes, I am. I am the first to graduate from college. Some of my other siblings went to college, but they never graduated from college. But I think what they did was they laid the foundation for me. They started it and I finished it.
Such an amazing story, right? It is such an amazing story. Now, reading your bio and kind of diving a little deeper into the homeless shelter that your mom founded, and your mom's name is it Louise?
Yes, Louise. Louise Hunter is her name.
I saw that you wrote, so reading in about the homeless shelter that your mom founded, you stated that though the shelter was meant to be a stabilizing influence for her family, your mom's family, it was still a breeding ground of dysfunction. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Well, when I was talking about dysfunction, is because uh, my mother will have my siblings and me at the shelter, and as a young kid, I believe that we should not have been present around certain people that had addictions and using profanity and having these mental episodes. Uh, and it just was too much information for us to handle as teenagers. You understand?
Right.
But
Yeah.
as a 53-year-old man, in retrospect, um, I have a lot of compassion for people that are addicted to drugs and alcohol and have mental issues. So I'm just blessed that I was able to see it at a young age and able to learn and take in so much information and adapt a lot of things that I was surrounded with, adapted into my life, and make sure that I did not do drugs or alcohol, that I took care of my body. I surrounded myself with positive men and women.
That's awesome. It is. See, I'm a huge advocate of going and helping at the local homeless shelters. I thought about taking my kids who are 11 and 9, but to your point, I didn't know if they were too young at this stage. But it's interesting that growing up around the homeless shelter, you're right. You are exposed to a lot of different mental health struggles, and as you know, a lot of people try to mask their pain and their hurt through some type of substance, right? Whether it be alcohol or drugs. Um, what impact do you think that had on your brothers and sisters? Because you mentioned that you were the one and only to graduate from college. Do you feel like that had an impact on them not being able to finish college, or what would you say the impact was on your entire family?
I think the impact that really hurted my family was my father passing away. Um, and when you come from a big family or any typical family, and your father was the breadwinner, he was
Yeah,
the spiritual leader in the home. He was basically the comforter, the leader, the commander in chief. And when you take that away from a home, it becomes very dysfunction. And there was no leadership at all, and it kind of hurt my brothers and sisters and also myself, because I grew up with a lot of resentment, a lot of anger, because I despised my friends outside spending time with their father, um, playing football, playing basketball, going to the zoo, going on walks, and my father was gone. He was absent. He was killed in a car crash. So I had so much resentment, as a young man, and I carried that a lot all the way up until my 20s, and then everything changed because I became a father at the age of 24. And so I had to get rid of anger. I had to get rid of resentment. I had to get rid of animosity. I had to get rid of all the negativity, all the negative thoughts that I had in my head. I had to get rid of it because I had a little baby that came into the world, and it really gave me a new perspective. It really juvenated my life, you know.
Yeah.
That's what it did. So it gave me a lot of compassion because as my kids began to grow, and I was able to be their um, basketball coach, their football coach, a baseball coach, and able to teach them about life, and guide them, and let them know that I'm going to turn your weaknesses into your strength, and that we were going to win together, and we were able to grow and win together.
Yeah. You sound like an amazing dad. And you're right, those
Yes,
babies
yes.
change those babies change everything. They do. How old were you when your dad passed away?
I was 8 years old when my father passed away.
You were my
Eight
daughter's
years old.
age, 8 years old.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you are the 19th. So how old was the oldest and how old was the youngest?
Well, my oldest sister today is 72. My baby sister today is 51 years old.
A big range there. Yeah.
Yeah, big, big. And I have to say this, I have some nieces and nephews that's older than me. Oh, but it's still kind of awkward because they are like 4 or 5 years older than you, and they
Yeah.
call you uncle. They call you Uncle Paul. I'm like,
I have a younger half sister, and she's about 15, 20 years younger than me. And so, but I also have nieces and nephews, and they're right there, if not older. And yeah, it's funny when they're younger. Well, I'm so sorry that you lost your dad, and I can't even imagine as a child, as an 8-year-old, 10-year-old, any, no matter how old you are, losing a parent is really tough. And my daughter had a friend this past year whose father passed away due to cancer, and it changes the whole dynamic, right, of the family. And I can't even imagine
yes.
your mom with 21 kids. Did she have any help at all, or was it kind of like all hands on deck with the siblings kind of help out?
Well, it was all hands on deck, and I want to thank my older siblings because, especially my brothers. My brothers became a substitute dad. They really did a good job of disciplining me, and some of my older sisters ended up disciplining me, gave me correction, did homework with me. If it wasn't for my siblings, I wouldn't be here speaking to you. But if you talk to my baby sister want to get back at them because they used to discipline us. They used to take the belt and whoop us. And my baby sister and I and my other sister, we all made a pact that once we become adults and we become older, we were going to beat them up. And I never forget that we're older and we had a cookout, and my baby sister had mentioned it and to my sister, and she wanted to get them back. And I'm like, no, we deserve it. We deserve it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah. We grew up with the belts and the hickory switches. Did you ever get the hickory switch?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got this with.
You never wanted to get that belt or that switch. So through all this and your siblings helping, so you went through high school and then you went to college. You mentioned that a couple of your other siblings went to college but weren't able to finish it. Who kind of guided you?
I think that what really guided me is that a lot of my mentors and looking at my family lineage, my father lineage, my mother lineage, and discovering that no one graduated from college. So I wanted to lay the foundation that
Yeah.
education is important. And so I decided to surround myself with positive men and women, and I wasn't afraid to raise my hand and ask for help and use the resources that was available at Upper Iowa University. And I tell kids today, you can make it. You know, all you need is a little mustard seed of faith and surround yourself with positive men and women, and use the resources that's all around at these technical college and universities, because they want to see you succeed. They don't want you to fail. They want to see you succeed. And I was able to have some great role models in my life. An amazing attorney named Michael Marhern, Dennis Woods, my siblings, my mom, my friends. They were very instrumental and pushing me and guiding me. Those little conversations, never giving up. Take it one day at a time. Being frustrated in the middle of the night where you can't find the answer, but you go to sleep and you wake up, and then you like call somebody, and somebody that is an expert in that field will give you the answer and give you instructions. So it to me, it was amazing. It was a community effort that really guided me.
Yeah, definitely. And you said something that really hits close to home with me is one day at a time. I shared with you before we got on this call that, we had a death in our family. We lost a baby in our family earlier this year. And the thing that the statement, the quote that we've been living by is it's just taking it one day at a time. And it's so real with grief, with trauma, with so many different things that you and your siblings experience. It's the truth. It's one day at a time. And then something else that I absolutely love, my faith. I don't think that I would be where I am today without my faith. And so I read that your determined spirit and your unshakable faith is what lifted you to earn your degree in business administration from Upper Iowa University. So tell me more about your faith. Were you raised around faith your whole life?
All my life, we've been raised
Yeah.
uh, with my mom and with my dad. Every morning, it's amazing because every morning my mama used to pray for us before we walked out the door. And I still miss those prayers today. And I was able to take what my mom and dad had taught me and use it to benefit my life, especially when you have children yourself. And mom and dad taught us to pray every time before we leave. And so when my children was born and they started to go to school, I had the opportunity to take them to school. And before they got out the car, I would hold their hands and pray for them before they got out of the car. And it's just amazing that uh, the power of prayer and what it does, because you want the hand of God to protect and guide and direct your children while they are away from you. You understand? My mom and dad used to always say to us, that you are a product of me. So you represent me when you're out in the community. So I say the same thing to my kids. Don't do anything to embarrass me, because you are a
Right.
product of me.
It's very true. Very true. And I love that you did prayer. So I have never met someone else that does this. I have the privilege of taking my kids to school. So I have two. And you have four, right? Four kids?
I have four. I have four. I have four children, but they are adults. They are grown, and I have one granddaughter. So
One great. Well, no, when I take my kids to school, we do affirmations. I think affirmations are so important, really, to help with their confidence and, things to that extent. We say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I say the Serenity Prayer with them. And we do it every single morning. And it's one of my most favorite things. And to your point, faith is very important to me. And I think the more we instill that in our children, if you don't have faith, what do you have? That's what helps us get through these hard, dark times. And I love that you being raised on faith and then you sharing it with your kids as they were kids growing up. I'm sure it's something that they're going to do with, you said you have one grandkid. So one of them is going to do with their,
Yes.
son or daughter, which is really, really cool. Now, through all of this, and, let's back up a little bit. How did you handle with the death of your dad and then, growing up with your mom, being in charge of this homeless shelter? Was your mental health? Did you struggle at all mentally, as far as I'm sure with grief, but did you struggle with anxiety or depression or anything to that extent?
I I, I struggle mentally. I struggle with a lot of anger issues.
Yeah, you said that resentment.
I struggle. Um, 8 years old, 8 years old, and struggling because the absence of a father.
Yeah,
It's crucial that men are involved in their lives, even though the government is trying to separate families,
yeah,
and but it's crucial that men is involved in their kids' life. You might not get along with the husband or the
right.
girlfriend or the boyfriend, but hey, most importantly, you guys got to come together, put the kids first. And so, yes, I had some struggles, but like I said, I was able to get rid of it. I had to get rid of it because I wanted a better life for myself. I wanted to live. I didn't want to die. I didn't want to go around mad and upset at the world. I just didn't want that. And I feel good because I got rid of bitterness. I got rid of resentment. I got rid of the anger. And I feel good to sit here and tell an amazing story how to get rid of it. And you have to. It's an imperative that you get involved with positive men and women. Get
Mhm.
involved in the church. I get involved in the church. I get involved with the boys and girls club. I remember a time going to Hawaii to the Boys and Girls Club and speaking life into young men and women life. And these people still, communicate with me today. They became adults, they became
Yeah,
educators, they became plumbers, they became teachers, they became principals, they became businessmen. And so
yeah.
it's just amazing what the words can do for a person life. If you speak life to them, sometimes you can invite them and they can just be on fire for the rest of their lives.
Right. Yeah, they can. And gosh, what a testimony. I know a little bit about the Boys and Girls Club. I think we have one here in Charlotte. I'm in North Carolina, but gosh, what a amazing blessing you are to be able to help other kids that have either lost their mom or their dad or, were raised without one of the parents in the household. When you said that you had to get rid of that anger and that resentment once you were having a baby come, how did you get rid? What resources or what tools did you use to kind of help you get through the animosity or the resentment that you had from your dad passing and just not being able to have that crucial part of your childhood?
I think being around a pastor, being in a functional church, reading books, The Power of Prayer by Joyce Meyer,
Oh, I
reading the
love
book
Joyce Myers.
Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. You understand?
I've read
So
that.
um,
I've read that
the,
book.
the Battlefield of the Mind by T.D. Jakes. You
I've read that
understand?
book.
You have to you have to get into the word of God, and you also have to read books as well, because what you're doing is you are renewing your mind. And that's what's gonna take all the negative stuff out of your mind, because you are renewing your mind as you read the word of God and as you learn and how to become a better man, how to become a better father, and things will flip for you, and all of that resentment and bitterness will just disappear. And that's what happens to me.
I'll tell you, it's such a testimony because I will tell you, when I had kids, I have PTSD from my childhood. And I feel like it never really hit me until I hit my 30s and had kids of my own. Because for me, it was a different story, but it was kind of, it made me question everything. And so I know a lot of people struggle as they get older with the things from when they're younger. And sometimes it doesn't hit them until they become a parent. So the fact that when you were about to become a dad, that you realized you were very self-aware of the struggles that you were going through and you had this anger and resentment, that you took those steps and you used your faith to get your mindset in a better place. That is such a testimony, not only for your kids, but to your point, to the Boys and Girls Club, to so many children or kids that have gone through similar things. Do you feel like you still struggle a little bit now with resentment? Does it creep up ever? Is this something that you still have to, I would say, work on daily? Because I know for me, I do need to do that daily, and I have to use that prayer a lot.
Well, I have to be totally honest with you. There's no resentment. There's no anger on the inside of me anymore. I am truly blessed. I am at peace with myself. You understand? I really, really am at peace with who I am today. And I thank God for taking me on this journey.
Yeah,
Some people when they go on the journey, they give up. I I have an attitude of never giving up. My spirit would not allow me to give up. No matter what difficulties, adversity that I have experienced in life, how many people told me no? Guess what? I am going
that
to
made you
turn
want to
those
do it
no's
more.
into a yes. Yes, yes. And
Yeah,
there were so many
that's great.
people, so
Yeah,
many people. When you start to read some of the people that gave me all of those publications told me no. But I had the spirit to understand there's somebody out there that will say yes. And somebody did say yes.
yeah. Give up. You did not give up. A lot of people, when they get that no, 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 they give up. And you kept going and stayed right on. You knew what your mission was and your goal was in this life, and that you were going to make such a difference, which is such a testimony. So tell me, when did you start having this idea of, okay, I have been through so much in my life, right? What a testimony. And you graduated from college, the first and only from 19 out of 21 children. You know, when did the idea of writing this book, one, to share your story, but two, to help others come about?
Well, it came about is when I started to go to college. I had spoke to a mentor of mine, Dr. Dennis James Wood, and I had told him, I said, I think it's going to be amazing that that I'm going to graduate from college. While I'm in college, I'm going to write a book. He said, for real? I said, yes, I'm going to write a book. And I said that anytime that I get a break, I'm just going to wait until midnight come and I'm going to
Mhm.
write for like 6 to 8 hours. And that's what I did. And he was a guy that told me that, hey, you can do it. And I can help you get it published because he started his own publishing company. And once he started his own publishing company, once the manuscript was written, I submitted it to him, and he gave me his feedback. And then I went back, did some editing, and then I went back, talked to my English professor, and I
Mhm.
told her, I said, "Hey, I need you to edit this manuscript." She went in and she edited, and she said, after she edited, I met with her a week later. She said, "Paul, I'm gonna be honest with you. You came a long ways of writing. I mean, a long ways because I took her English course and I failed it the
That's
first time."
amazing. I bet she was so proud of you.
Yeah, she was so proud of me. And I tell her that, I remember wanting to give up, but I saw a documentary about Frederick Douglass. And he had a quote that says that without progress, what he said there, there's a quote that says that uh, without progress, no, I can't recall it right now, but it was a great quote of Frederick Douglass of what he had said. It had just motivated me to want to go out and just do better in life. So she edited and she said that, listen, you only had a minor mistakes. Here you go. And I submitted it. And in the book is still selling today, and the book has been adapted into a screenplay. And
That was
now
my
I
next
just signed a
question.
deal 2 years. Yeah, I signed a deal 2 years ago with Tailflix, and Tailflix Pictures is in the process of putting all the characters together, and we just gonna have fun with this movie because I think that the movie will impact people lives around
Oh, so
the
many
world
people.
of this amazing woman that birthed 21 children by one guy, and she had one child to graduate, and they experienced adversity, they experienced hardship, but hey, they are a typical American family that
Yeah.
is struggling but never gave up, always put God first, and look at them now today.
Yeah. It's such I know I keep using the word testimony, but it really is a testimony. I mean, a lot of people, when they go through these hardships, whether it's from childhood or maybe something happened to them in their 20s or 30s, whatever it may be, and a lot of people, they're just so overwhelmed with the depression from it and the resentment and the anger and the why me that a lot of times people do give up. And there's so many things. It's like gosh, if we weren't on here right now, I feel like I could be like, we could just talk for hours because there's so many things that you did that I find myself that I did, after I had, graduated college and became an adult and then parent. It's so true. One, my faith. I would not be anywhere that I am today if it wasn't for my faith. And I love that you stand by your unshakable faith, right? That has led you to where you are today. But the other
Yes.
aspect of that is, you know, I want my future to be better than my childhood. I will not take no for an answer. This is my goal. This is my dream, and I'm not going to stop till I do it. And I think that mentality right there, it's the football mentality, right? It's the basketball mentality. It's it's we don't give up and we continue. And I think that's such a hard lesson for a lot of people. Um, but to show and be the epitome of I can make it through, and so can you. I think that speaks volumes. And so I just want to say thank
Yeah.
you again for sharing your story with me. So I read you said you can get your book on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and iTunes, right?
Yes, yes,
And
and also, people can go out and also get my mother's book, Love and Charity: The Life Story
mm,
of Louise Hunter and the Love and Charity Homeless Shelter. This book is on Amazon.com. It's available at Barnes and Noble bookstore as well. So go out and get my mother's book, Love and Charity: The Life Story of Louise Hunter and the Love and Charity Homeless Shelter. It is written by Dr. Dennis James Woods.
I love it. So I am an Amazon influencer. I have a storefront. And if you're okay with it, I'm gonna add both of those to my storefront. And I'm gonna like when I do flips and stuff, I'll let them know that they can purchase it there. And I can't wait to buy your book. I haven't bought it yet, but I'm gonna buy it and read it. It's funny that you said you wrote it and then you created a screenplay out of it. So I started to write a book a couple years ago about my childhood, and I actually worked with a screenplay writer, but I never finished. And so that's one of my goals. So, I think there's so many different things here that it's such a gosh, the you being a mentor to so many different people and so many different levels, including sharing their story that you can get there. It's just such a testimony. And I'm so thankful that you reached out to me, we found each other, and that we could hear more of your story. Is there anything, if you met someone today and they say they were 15 years old and they kind of had a very similar upbringing as you and lost one of their parents, what would be the best advice that you could give to that person?
I think the best advice that I can give to that person is that surround themselves with positive men and women. Um, get a hold of a mentor. Don't be afraid to see a therapist or a psychologist because there are good people out here in the world that is willing to help you to become the best version of yourself. You just cannot be afraid to request help. And that's the reason why we have a lot of people today that is struggling today, because they are afraid to raise their hand. They are afraid to ask for help. And let me get back to what Frederick Douglass has said: without struggle, there is no progress. Without struggle, there is no progress. So, I had to struggle. Everybody in this world will struggle, but eventually you will make progress.
And I think that that struggle, I think, makes us stronger if we allow it, and makes us, to your point, better than we were yesterday if we allow it, right?
Yes,
Life is
yes,
life, and life is hard, and I feel like everybody has a story of some sort. It may not be similar, it may be similar, but whatever the case is, mental health struggles, whether it is something due to genetics and we're born with it, or it's situational due to circumstances from when we were younger. People struggle. There's over 200 mental health diagnoses. And you said something that I is the reason why I started my podcast, is because people are afraid to share their stories because they're scared that they're going to be judged. And the number one reason that I wanted to create this podcast was to have amazing people like you, Paul, who can share their story and their testimony to show people that, look, it's okay, we struggle. All of us struggle. But if we need to go, we need to talk about it. And if we need to, go see someone like a therapist, then that's a good thing. It's going to help us because there are resources out there. And the more that we talk about this and share stories like your book, Paul, the more that we do that, the more that we can become one step closer of stopping that stigma that's associated with mental health. And I just love that that is your whole mission. And what an amazing testimony. And how proud is your mom?
Well, they passed away, but they the progress that I had made, and also not only me, but my siblings as well.
Yeah, I bet they're so proud, and your siblings as well. You've heard Paul talk today, guys. His book, it is available on Barnes and Noble, through Amazon, and on iTunes. And if you ever do want to reach out to Paul for a speaking engagement, book signings, anything like that, he can be reached at Paul at paulamarhunter.com. Did I say that right?
Yeah, PaulLamarHunter.com.
Com. Well, I just want to say thank you again so much for reaching out to me and taking the time to really share your story. I know we only touched a little bit of it. I would love to have you back on our podcast, Why Not Be Authentic, to kind of dive deeper into your book more and your story, if you'd be open to it.
Yes, 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 yes. I think the next time I come back on your show is once the movie deal is done and it's out in the theater. I come out, come to do your show again, and we'll talk about the movie and who's the characters that's playing it.
Time they're looking for characters now.
Yeah, they looking at it in the next 2 years. In the next 2 years, yes,
Well, I have to tell you, Paul, I'm proud of you.
yes,
Everything we've gone through, and writing a book, many people's dream. It's one of my dreams. And you're gonna help so many people. And I bet your kids are also very proud of you. So thank you again for coming on the show.
yes, yes, they are.
Again, don't forget, you got to go get his book. I'm gonna put it on my storefront on Amazon. You can access my link tree and find it, or say it again, Paul, www.
PaulLamarHunter.com.
You got it. Thank you guys, and thank you, Paul, for being here. And until next time, guys, we'll see you later.